powerhouse pitching staff. Get into that, a little bit of Matt Harvey and kind of what has Mike's ears on fire here when it comes down to him. So we're going to get into that. Then we also have the Emo Prince of the Midwest, Francois VanCura. He's going to come join us, Celebratory Forties. We're going to talk about the best albums of the first half of 2016 to this point and some other Chicago music fests around the city. But if you want to give us a call on any of those topics, 585-633-7487. Give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio. And our producer this evening, Mr. Keith Grieve, at Keith Grieve on Twitter. No hooray? I was waiting for the hooray. But then we co-host Bob Sullivan at The Bob Sullivan Show on Twitter. And I'm Johnny Maloris of, you can find me at Maloris. But our first guest, former national sports columnist of the year, lead sports columnist for the New York Post, and owner of some pretty impressive sports apparel, Mike Vaccaro. How are you, Mike?
Johnny, how you doing? Good to be with you tonight.
Oh, thanks. No, we really appreciate you coming on. And, I lead with that because, I couldn't help but notice the Montreal hat along with the Nordique sweater and all that fun stuff. I mean, it looks like you have quite an impressive hat collection, at least. Is there a rhyme or reason to any of that, or you just love baseball hats?
You know what? The last vice I have left is baseball caps. So I collect those. And we happened to go on vacation in Quebec City last year, so I had to buy me a Nordiques jersey before I left the upper provinces. So that's what I did.
Oh, absolutely! No, it was fantastic, and I love it. But one of the other things I love is how you're able to go hard at Matt Harvey. I mean, a momentary resurgence, but I mean, do you ever see him becoming an ace either in New York again or anywhere else? Considering, like I said, you railed his character last week about him ditching out, not talking to the media, and just the way he's basically acted over his career here with the Mets.
I think he could, sure. I mean, it's a matter of how much he's willing to learn from his mistakes, and that's not just obviously on the mound where he's made quite a few, and I think his confidence has been missing for most of the season. We saw kind of a resurgence of that on Monday, but obviously also off the field, and the most recent incident was the getting hammered in Washington and then not standing up and talking about it afterward, which is a real violation of the clubhouse code, which even he admitted after his last start. But there's been some red flags around him. I do think most of it leads to him embracing a superstar lifestyle before he's actually become a superstar. He's had some very good moments as a pitcher. He's very good and has had two very good years, 13 and 15. But there's a big difference between him and Clayton Kershaw, who is a superstar. And the thing is, if you're going to embrace the superstar life and live the superstar lifestyle, then when things kind of go sideways on you, you're gonna be called on it. You can talk about a lot of things. I mean, the thing that I keep going back to was him not showing up for the mandatory workout before the playoffs began last year, which. It's you talk about things that are going to make you more popular in your own clubhouse. When you start living by your own rule book, that's certainly going to do it. That did not go over well in the Mets clubhouse last year. It was kind of overlooked after a while because of what the Mets accomplished in October. They clearly weren't held back by it, but people tend to have a long memory in clubhouses, and I can tell you that I can promise you that that's not something that was forgotten.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the other things too. You talk about his, the way he's looked at within that clubhouse, and he wrote an article recently about Steven Matz and how he's becoming an ace. And before we kind of get into some of the things that why you think that he's taking it to another level, I mean, obviously Harvey doesn't rank very high in your book in terms of how he's going to act with other guys in the clubhouse, how that's all going to go over. But who do you think right now is the true leader of the pitching staff and the New York Mets clubhouse?
Well, of the clubhouse until David Wright went down again with his neck problems. I mean, he's the captain not only in name but also by the way he conducts himself and he handles himself. That's going to be an interesting void they're going to have to fill. Not only just his presence in the lineup, which they've kind of gotten used to missing every couple of days anyway because of what his schedule was, but who's going to step into that forefront of leadership. But specific to the pitching staff, I mean, it's hard to argue against anybody but Noah Syndergaard right now because not only is he a guy who's throwing 100 miles an hour and 95-mile-an-hour sliders, which ought to be illegal, but I think he's also he embraces being an alpha dog, in the way that Matt Harvey used to, but he also does it in a way where, you can tell that the only thing that matters in his life right now is pitching and pitching well. And so he's got that going for him. I personally didn't necessarily think it was a great idea for him to go after Chase Utley last week, but certainly, it's the kind of message that his teammates are going to read and appreciate, even though the player who is most affected by it is no longer on the team. But that's just that's Noah Syndergaard is right now. I mean, he's a guy who, very much, lives what he said last year before he faced the Royals, where he said, if anybody wants me, they know where to find me. I'm 66 inches away.
Yeah.
And he kind of embodies that,
Yeah, exactly. And so do you think maybe, some of the stuff that he's been able to bring to the table, especially knowing that he's so young, has that been something that you've seen, kind of grow on Steven Matz at this point? Because, I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? He has a great repertoire. And one of the things you kind of mentioned is him being able to slow himself down and kind of be his own pitching coach at times when he needs to be. What are some of the other things that you kind of picked up on and why you love Steven Matz right now?
Well, he's just so precocious in terms of his makeup. I love the fact that he gets a couple of guys on, and he looks the same as when he's retired. 12 guys in a row, and that's the kind of thing that you really need, especially as a young pitcher trying to forge a path in the major leagues. It's last week against Washington. There was a key at bat where he faced Bryce Harper, and the most natural thing in the world, and that may sound like not a big deal for a professional pitcher, but when you consider how many guys have kind of backed down to Bryce in the first couple months of the season, and would prefer to walk him as opposed to trying to challenge him, and you see then contrast that with the at bat that he took against Matz. It really tells you something about Matz, I think, and that's one of the great things about watching these all these pitchers from the beginning is you kind of see all of them where they were in their very first moments, and then you see how they've developed. But Matz is a guy who really from day one, when he showed up and pitched really well against the Reds last June. Really, he looks like he belongs, and that's such a huge thing to be able to pinpoint and say, this guy plays like he belongs, he looks like he belongs, and he performs like he belongs, and that's certainly been the case with Matz.
Mike, with Terry Collins, before last year, he had seasons where he looked kind of unstable at times in front of the media. Some Dick Vermeil type moments where he would start crying about what Jose Urias winning the batting title, whatever it may be. There was some emotionally unstable moments that he had, and people didn't think that he could lead a team into the postseason or lead a serious contender. How has the opinion, has the opinion changed of him among writers in New York? Where are writers right now as far as their opinion of Terry Collins?
I would still say that there are a lot of there's a large faction of Metsdom that isn't sold on him as a manager, which is on the one hand is understandable because you don't just define a guy by 1 year, but on the other hand, I mean, I think if you watched what they did last year, and look, I mean, very much what he's going to have to go through in the next couple of weeks and months is what the best part of what Terry Collins did last year. I mean, in June and July, when the Mets were scoring a run and a half a game, and really by rights could have fallen out of the race, somehow he kept the clubhouse together. I don't think he's ever going to be confused with Tony La Russa or John McGraw or anybody else as a strategist, but I do think that strategy is fine. I'm not sure how many games that wins or loses in the course of the year. Maybe 2 one way, 3 the other, who knows. But I do think that for a manager, one of the most important, or the most important element of the job description is to keep the clubhouse together, keep the players playing hard, keep the players believing in themselves, even past the point where they can reasonably do that. And so, as I think a lot of people kind of focused on Collins in August and September when things started to really turn well for the Mets. It really did seem like he was, rolling sixes every time out. his pitch hitters invariably came through, his pitching changes invariably were right, and he just ran that, roll right on to game one of the World Series. And that's fine, but I think that, what impressed me the most, and I think what, is probably the most impressive part of his resume as a manager right now is how he kept his team together in June and July last year when they very easily could have wound up, tanking. And, as a result of them kind of treading water, Sandy Alderson decided to make a move, couple of moves, 3 moves, then they got, obviously Cespedes, and then the rest we all know what happened from there. So I'm not so sure that any of that would have been considered if the Mets had been, 5-6 games under 500 and 7-8 games out of first place in the East. But Collins was able to kind of keep them all together, and I think that was a huge element.
Are you with Terry Collins and Ned Yost meeting up in the World Series last year? I mean, you couldn't have picked 2 managers who've gotten made fun of more over the last 4 or 5 years. It'd be like the equivalent of David Blatt and I don't know, Kevin McHale meeting up in the finals.
Kurt Rambis.
Kurt Rambis meeting up in the finals in the NBA. But, do you think, everybody talks about those guys being idiots, but I feel like their moves, I feel like they're not going by the book all the time or being aggressively stupid at times, stupidly aggressive at times. Really worked out for them in the playoffs, more so with the Royals in the last 2 years. But do you feel like Terry Collins kind of has a Ned Yost type of feel to him where everybody just kind of thinks he's an idiot and, he's really not. It's just we all think he's dumber than he is.
Well, look, the thing about it is, if you're lucky enough to manage in the postseason, then everyone's going to see everything you do. And as a result, every one of your moves is going to be augmented. I think that's where you are with Ned Yost. A lot of people have shaken their heads over the last 2 years because, things that seem like counterproductive strategy tends to work out for the guy. Now, it helps that when he's, when he's putting these pieces in motion, he has a lot of players with character and who have had postseason experience in the same way that, that Joe Torre did with the Yankees back in the day. So that helps. I think that, there's a certain element that I think is never going to embrace Collins. Part of that is because he does do some things unconventionally and some things almost maddeningly conventionally. But I think that, I think one of the things that there's a large segment of Mets fans who are forever going to, think that Wally Backman invented the game. And as long as he's available, not only available, but available, working for a team in the Mets organization, that's a guy that they're always going to pine for better or worse. I like Wally. I think he's a fine manager. I think it's impossible to say with any kind of certainty that he would be a better manager than Terry Collins because he managed exactly 0 games in the major leagues. You can't possibly liken managing any level in the minor leagues to managing the major leagues because what you're doing as a minor league manager is completely different from what you're doing as a major league manager. It's all about development. It's all about about making players better and keeping them healthy and being very cautious with them. They're not managing every game to win. That's the bottom line. And Wally might very well become a very good manager, but the fact is we don't know. And anybody who claims they do know is just is just fooling themselves because he's never done it. For better or for worse, he had an opportunity in Arizona that didn't work out because of personal reasons. And I would certainly tell you that he's a guy who deserves an opportunity, but I'm not a guy who's going to stand here and tell you that when he gets an opportunity, he's absolutely going to be a championship manager. We just don't know that, and it's impossible to say that with any kind of certainty.
Mike, you're supposed to say we know that for sure. The best player is the backup quarterback. The best coach is the assistant or the head coach in waiting. The best.
Right,
we've seen that with at Texas when they had Will Muschamp. That guy was going to be the next great thing at Texas, and then we saw what happened.
Yeah. Ray Stevens screwed it up. It was pretty much every assistant coach at Duke, but
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, but anyways, real quick, I only have one more question here for you, Mike. Again, Mike Vaccaro. You can check him out at Mike Vac. Also on the New York Post, nypost.com. The fantastic stuff. You can get it all there. But kind of looking at the Yankees, they were a team where last year they really didn't go too hard in terms of the moves they were making at the deadline. And you look at the aging roster and just the distance between the top minor league talent, how far they are from the majors and some of the value of their assets, including a lot of the veterans. You know what I mean? And what kind of haul they might be able to get from a team at the deadline that's looking for that veteran presence just to inject it as quick as they can. Do you think that now with the back end duo as awesome as they are with Chapman and everything else that's going on there since he came back aboard here, do you think Brian Cashman is going to kind of lay back like he did last deadline, or do you expect him to start dealing one way or the other, either buying or selling?
Unless the Yankees are going to go 21-7 in June, and not only get to the right side of 500, but really jump with both feet back into the American League East race, I'd be very surprised if they don't deal Chapman. I think at this point,
really?
They have to look at that. They have to look at that as being, kind of the cornerstone for how they're going to get this turned around. Because as important as closers are for teams with October aspirations, he's a guy who, every time he comes in, he's breaking radar cuts. And
yeah.
He struggled a little bit tonight in Detroit, but he still got the save. It's going to be a very valuable commodity. You would have to think that on July 30th, July 31st, they will be able to command a huge haul for him, and that's that's so much a part of what the Yankees are buying into now and what they need. I mean, they need young, talented players of which they have a. Since tonight, it's going to get the fan base very excited because Ref Snyder had a big game. And, anytime you get a youthful injection of energy, it's good. Now, look, again, if the Yankees, if we're working up on July 30th and the Yankees are suddenly a game out of first place in the East, then they're not going to trade him, obviously. Nor should they, because,
right.
In that case, then you got to figure, you want to take a crack at it. But if you've watched this team play over the last couple of months, it doesn't seem possible. There are just too many holes in the lineup. There's too many players who, Joe Girardi keeps expecting he's going to play with the back of the baseball card, but I just don't believe that Mark Teixeira is ever going to see that back of the baseball card ever again. Alex Rodriguez, Jacoby Ellsbury is, we can go on and on. Brett Gardner, it's been a litany of offensive problems. If we're going to assume that that's not going to completely do a 180, I think it starts with Chapman, and I think that, obviously if someone's willing to take the share off their hands, you can start going bit by bit, but that's where it starts. And you know what? I think there's some nobility if you're the Yankees in saying, you know what, this is what we're doing and this is how we're going. And you know what, if it costs you, a couple thousand fans per game, you know what, it's going to be worth it in the long run because you're going to be healthy and championship caliber again a lot sooner than if you keep pulling yourself into just, muddling around and trying to stay on the periphery of the wild card race.
Wow, and you think Cashman will actually do that, though? You think he's okay with selling? Everybody's all right with that fan base, everybody?
I think, honestly, I think that Brian would have little problems doing that because I do believe that he's not only bought in now, but he's been bought in for several years, knowing what the Yankees need to do. I do think that there's some muscle memory among the people above him that have a hard time embracing because, they still understood. They still remember what it was like when the big boss was around. Mm-hmm. But that was a whole different time, a whole different era, a whole different sport in a lot of ways. And I think that Cashman has consolidated a lot of power, and I do think that he's at a point where he feels comfortable saying this is what I truly believe we need to do as an organization. And I think they'll listen to him if that's what. But look, again, they're not just going to toss it away. If they do recover here over the next 6 to 8 weeks, and you do have that before you have to worry about actually making these big deals, then we'll have a different conversation about it. But I think that Brian is perfectly willing to be realistic about what needs to be done.
Wow, that's good. That's good to hear. And then and we're done talking your ear off, Mike. But absolutely fantastic having you on. And again, everybody can check you out. New York Post. Get a subscription. Check them out online. Also on Twitter at Mike Vac with 2 C's there. Thank you so much, Mike Vaccaro. We really appreciate you.
Hey, great talking to you guys. Have a great night.
Absolutely. Thank you. You too. Take care. Wow, that was awesome. I always love talking to him. That was, I believe, the second time Mike's come on the show. But what a fantastic guy. Great. So I'm telling you, in his articles, too, and like I say, he's not afraid to go hard. You know what I mean? And going at Matt Harvey for his character, I don't know, Bob. I mean, we both talk about, us coaching kids and me dealing with guys that have played for my teams that have been drafted before. And always the character a lot of times is going to become an issue for a bunch of these players where, they think they're the best and maybe they are, you know what I mean, at that particular level. But
Dutch hater.
yeah, but it's tough, man, to kind of get through and kind of pinpoint that stuff. And he went right at Harvey for it, and I'm with him. I know. How did you feel about that, Keith? I mean, you're a Mets guy. You're a Harvey buddy.
I think you're all.
What was that?
Keith.
I think.
You want my opinion? You want my opinion of it? I figure.
Because that is dying.
What's dying?
My mic.
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, my nice semi-expensive mic is dying.
Did you get one of those blue sky or whatever the hell those things are called?
No, it's just a condenser mic. It wasn't all that expensive, but it's dying. It's
a good-looking mic. Whenever we do the video chat, I see you with it. I'm like, oh man, so impressive. You got the voice of Dr. Drew and the microphone. I guess of Dr. Drew as well because he likes the microphone, right?
My take before I go completely dark here is that you're all a bunch of haters.
Really?
See, I'm kind of with Keith on this. I think.
Well, you're mad at Harvey because he didn't talk to the press. Why? So that the media could ask him 16 different ways. Why do you think you're struggling? If he knew what was wrong, he would freaking fix it. Well, what does he stand to gain besides doing the code of going in front of the reporters? They're not going to ask him a question that he hasn't been asked 2 million times before, and obviously he hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, but one of the things that Mike brought up was that, like, at least in the article there, was about how it's a confidence thing. You know what I mean? And he isn't confident right now because he doesn't know what's wrong. He doesn't know how to fix it. You know what I mean? But I guess, I don't know. I guess maybe saying code it might kind of throw it off a little bit, but at least like the point he's trying to make. But I mean, honestly, you just go out there, you just, I guess, talk to him, man. That's what you're there for. You know what I mean? There's no reason just to back out because you're pissed off that you can't figure out what the hell's wrong with you.
If I was at that level of frustration, I probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah. I guess I can't say either way. You know what I mean? Not in that spot, but go ahead.
A lot of these, yes, he's probably, okay, he's gone through some adversity as far as the Tommy John go. He had a great start to his career, had the Tommy John, came back, and then I think his ego is a little hurt by the fact that.
Oh, absolutely.
After last year where it was like, okay, we're looking at their next ace. Harvey was the guy. Okay, it wasn't Harvey was the guy for like 15 years in New York, and then all of a sudden they have the guy, and he gets a little jealous or anything. But he was the guy for like a year, and that was thought to be the guy for the next 10 years for the Mets, or 7 years, whatever you want to put on it. And so, yes, and then once the playoffs came around, DeGrom, Syndergaard, and Matz to a lesser degree, started to shine through, and now Matz is shining through this. I don't know what Wheeler's done, but he's also
he's coming back, and it sounds relatively soon. He's starting to throw a little bit more because he's recovering from Tommy John as well.
Let's say he comes back.
July 1st is the
Harvey
target.
goes from being that guy for the next 7 years that he thought he was going to be to being, third or fourth banana on the, as far as the team goes, and that doesn't.
The banana hammock.
Yeah, the banana hammock, and he's not. I don't feel like. I feel like his ego was a little hurt going into the postseason. That's why he probably missed that workout. And then this year, he was trying to get. I think he's trying too hard, really, right now. I don't think it's anything. Mechanically, I doubt it's anything mechanically. I think he's trying too hard. I think he's trying too hard.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And like I said, it's him trying to find a way to compensate and to fix it all at once. And like I said, obviously getting pissed off. But
it's the same thing every game, though. It's the third trip through the lineup that gets him every time, except for a couple flares.
It's Javi Vasquez syndrome, where just that one awful inning, it's always like the fourth inning or the third inning, and it just gets blown the hell up. And like the rest of the game before and after that, he's fine.
He needs to change the scenery to a not New York.
San Diego, they'll pay you.
Well, it's like everybody that's
that
hating
won't
on him.
make,
like,
like his ERA might go down there, but his team success won't. I think he needs, if he was winning these games and had like a 6.9 or whatever ERA, I think things there would be a concern, but it's,
Can we all just take a minute and remember the absolute desert that was the Mets farm system before Matt Harvey came up?
Oh, no kidding. Well, let me ask you this, Keith, because I thought this is kind of interesting. Because, I mean, you see it within the same division there, within the NL East, between, his road from recovery from Tommy John and Steven Strasburg's. And now you see Steven Strasburg, guy has gone out there at this point, took the extra precautions in 2012 after returning from Tommy John, where he didn't want to push it, and everybody knocked the Mets or knocked the Nationals for not using him in the postseason. And now he's dominating. He's 12-0, 15 starts since last September. Washington has won all 15 of his starts since that point. And with him not pushing it and Harvey, backing off, and then the whole drama at the end of last year where he wasn't going to pitch in the postseason, but then he did. I mean, pushing it so hard that first year back after Tommy John, do you think that's kind of some of the stuff that we're seeing now where, maybe, his velocity is still there, but there's something isn't clicking right, a year after having pushed it so hard. If he just were to let up a little bit, it might be all right.
I haven't seen the numbers on the difference if his velocity is dipping at all. You know what I mean? If it's a stamina thing in the arm. I know the other day he was throwing in the 90s, the high 90s in the 5th and 6th innings.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, all right.
I guess that in and of itself would make me think that it's not akin to an arm issue.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
It's something that, not for nothing. Where's Dan Worth in all this? This is his job, because it's pretty obvious that he's tipping something the third time through the lineup that teams are catching on to. So,
I got a more important question.
Uh-oh.
Who do you think's hotter, Steph Curry's wife or Steph Curry's mom?
I need the Google bot. Right now, are they still slaying the Cavaliers at this point? 104 to 87. That's not good.
And Curry and Thompson really haven't scored that well. They've played well, but they haven't really shot that well. So that's a definite concern if you're the Cavs fan. But there's also been some questionable non-calls for the Cavs.
Yeah, I'm going to go Aisha on that one, by the way. I'm going to go his wife.
Yeah, I probably would too. Although for 50, his mom looks pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
No, she's all right. She's all right. She got a little wrinkles. That's all right. It's fine, though.
Jeez, you're a little particular for 50. She's pretty good for 50.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's fine. And okay, here's the more important question. And maybe it's going to be a dumb one for you, but who are you rooting for here? Because I mean, right now in Chicago, it's a tough thing when it comes down to the NBA Finals. You look at just the disdain for the Cavaliers and LeBron and being scorned by LeBron and everything else, but then you also have the 73-9 Warriors going out there and doing what they're doing, looking to repeat here. And I mean, it's a tough pick for a lot of people here in Chicago because everybody loves that. The 72-10 Bulls team is about as loved as I don't want to say equally as loved as the 85 Bears, but I mean they're second for sure.
The 6-peat.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
The 6-peat. The 6 titles for
the 2 3-peats. Yeah.
The 2 3-peats should be more beloved than the 85 Bears. I'm sorry, but the 85 Bears, yes, that was a great 1 year, and I know Keith's a Bears fan, but that was a great team for 1 year, and they kind of
football this world, dude. That's the problem.
I understand that, but
blue collar and it's tough, and it's Chicago
to not win more than one title. I feel like
anybody will tell you that team should have won more, and
they should have.
Even they'll tell you that.
What? They should.
The actual players will tell you that.
The Bulls, winning 6 and the whole controversy over Jordan retiring and coming back, and his dad dying and all that stuff.
Right.
The Bears title was. I know everybody did this, the Bears that, and everything, but 6 titles in 8 years.
That's so ridiculous.
That's ridiculous, and
never expected them to lose a game.
They probably would have. They probably would have lost maybe one to the Rockets, but they could have. They could have won. I don't think they go 8 in a row, but I definitely think they could have gone 7 out of 8. People forget that second Rockets team got hot in the playoffs. They were like a 6th seed. I don't think that team would have beaten the Bulls, but I think
no. Never underestimate the heart of a champion.
Okay, they would have beaten the Bulls if Jordan had beaten the Magic to go. Like if Jordan and the Bulls had beaten the Magic, then beaten the Pacers, and then gone to the finals, I think they definitely would have beaten that team.
I would have liked to see Jordan in his prime take on Shaq and Penny.
We did.
Well, no. What year was that?
When they swept them in the 72-10 season?
Yeah, but all right, you're right. I take that back. I just don't remember it.
Yeah, because they swept them. It was like, I mean, if Shaq and Penny had
all the time in NBA Jam.
If Shaq and Penny had stayed together for one more year, I think we would have gotten another rematch, and it would have been a better series.
Yeah, well, good for you.
Okay. John, you just asked a crap question. Okay, so
it's
who
not
am
a crap question.
For?
Yeah.
Who am I rooting for? I don't really care. I mean, I'd rather LeBron not get another ring, but I'm sick and tired of people trying to. I'm sick of the era where we have to make somebody better, you have to put down somebody else's accomplishment. It's like, I just saw one out there. LeBron was criticized for going to Miami, yet Jordan was 1-9 in the playoffs before he got Pippen. Oh yeah, I bet those series were easy without Pippen against the Celtics that were one of the greatest teams of all time, or the Pistons. Right. Those were really easy series versus LeBron's against in the grand scheme of things, a kind of a mediocre Detroit Pistons team or a Celtics team that was, pretty good for its time, but not one of the all-time greats. So all you people can kind of suck my dick on this whole all you people that are putting down another person's accomplishments to better LeBron's or Kobe's or Steph Curry's or whatever it may be can suck my dick. And the other thing,
go ahead.
There you have it.
Really quick. Okay, somebody put out a stat comparison for LeBron and Steph Curry at the age of 28. Okay, LeBron had been in the NBA for 10 years at that point.
I know, right?
Steph Curry is in his 7th or 8th, and so and plus he had injury problems early on in his career with his ankles. So you want to factor in, 1, they play 2 completely different positions. 2, the argument of who's better is only an argument made by one ESPN First Take and morons. And number 3, when you're comparing their stats, it's year 10 for LeBron at age 28 versus year 7. That's 3 full seasons more. So LeBron has 10,000 more points, which is, yes, that's,
it's pretty ridiculous.
At the age, that's ridiculous in the fact that, yes, he has 10,000 more points through the age of 28, but he has 3 more seasons of NBA, 82 games a season or whatever he would play, 78, 75 games, whatever it may be. So the argument is completely both. If you're going to make an argument, that's why I hate the youngest player to do whatever. Make it the fastest player seasons-wise. When you're doing it took LeBron only 10 seasons to get to 20,000 points.
Bryce Harper, Mike Trout. I mean,
exactly.
Straight into slaying records.
Or Ken Griffey Jr. is, he was 18 when he came up or whatever. He was
6 years ago today.
What?
He retired 6 years ago today.
Yeah, and he also was drafted, like 30 years ago today?
Is that true? I don't know.
I believe so. Well, not 30, but it was like 1989 or something. But my point being, the youngest to do something is a stupid thing to say when, Steph Curry, allowing him to come out of high school wasn't allowed at that point. And not that he would have been able to come out of high school and go straight to the pros, but, he was 21 when he came into the NBA. So you're going to do a stats comparison of two guys that had, it should be in their – if you want to do a stats comparison of seventh season to seventh season, that's fine. So LeBron has 2 titles at 28 or 1 title at 28 and 2 finals MVPs. That's great. But that's 10 seasons in, not 7 seasons in. At 7 seasons in, he had a few choke jobs in the playoffs or a few players sleeping with his mom in the playoffs. That was not brought.
Yeah, no, that's not.
Hold on. BattleBots is coming back. That's the most important thing that has come on the TV.
You're excited about that, huh?
Can I go?
That was a cool thing in the 90s on like TNN. That white trash network that was
the Nashville network.
Yeah, the Nashville network. Yeah.
Can I go off on a tangent?
Network. Say that again, Keith. Sorry.
Can I go off on a tangent?
Please.
So you talked about the Bulls.
Yeah.
Series.
Can you start that over?
Yeah. Reboot on that.
Bad mic. Okay, am I back now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The Magic. If you look at points per game in that series, you had Shaq with 27, Anthony Hardaway with 25.5, and then the next closest was Nick Anderson at 8.3 points per game that series. Yeah. We're talking about 2 guys trying to do it all by themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Was that just because everybody else was that bad, or was it just because that was just the way they ran things?
Well, if you look
that bad, that Magic team
only averaging something, 8 point whatever points a game.
Dennis Scott and Nick Anderson were lethal from beyond the arc.
Everyone just stopped showing up.
What? They just didn't play well. And I mean, you can factor in Rodman, Pippen's defense on, whether it be.
And I want to say Horace Grant was injured because he only played 1 game in that series.
Yeah, he was banged up that series. But the first time around, Horace was the difference. But again, the Bulls didn't have Rodman. Jordan had was like 2 months or 3 months into coming back. He had just come back on like St. Patrick's Day or whatever that year, and then albeit for me to defend Jordan, but yeah, that Magic series, that sweep for the Bulls was, they had Rodman. They just won 72 games. They had a motivated Jordan. That was pissed off at the Magic for beating them the previous year, and the Magic stood no chance in that series. That series was, like Keith. I get why you completely forget that series because it was so like
overdone.
There's just bad series that you watch throughout your life that you just erase. Like whether a sweep, you just don't remember whatsoever.
Yeah,
totally nobody wants to. There's no reason to remember a sweep. Like Johnny might say he loved, even Johnny as a White Sox fan, like there's nothing to remember about that White Sox sweep of the Astros in the World Series.
Yeah, there was like the 17th inning walk-off home run by Jeff Blum.
Who?
Exactly.
Wow.
Geoff Blum. He came in, pinch hit, and Ozzie Guillen had someone else up and ready to pinch hit. I can't remember who it was at the time, but apparently his son or something like that told him earlier in the day, one of his kids told him that Jeff Blum was going to be a hero tonight. And so right before that, he was like, you know what? I'm going to throw Jeff Blum in there. And then he did, and then he hit the home run, and everybody was happy. But that was in Houston. He actually he played for Houston at the time, or previously, But no, I hear what you're saying. No, you were making a good point. I love baseball, so I'm not going to forget that stuff.
Well, and I love NBA, so.
but see, I was going to say Horace Grant was the one that got punched in the face by Jordan, like, making a joke was why he wasn't playing in those games. It was actually Horace Grant was one of the people that was relaying the stories of the times that Michael Jordan punched other teammates in the face, like Steve Kerr and Will Perdue,
and Jeb Bush,
right in the kisser. Yeah, Jeb Bush.
The Jordan.
I'd punch.
I think. I don't remember if we. I think I discussed this on my show on Sunday, but whenever I discussed it, it was how the '90s had there was a seedy element to the '90s, obviously if LeBron played in the '90s or the '80s, I don't think he's as hated because there's not the social media aspect. I mean, there's still the flopping and everything, but I don't think, social media just gives a voice to every John, Joe, and Sally on the block. And not every John, Joe, and Sally should have a voice. They should be mute or not allowed. They should either have their voice box removed or their fingers removed from typing. So all these people that are allowed to have a blog or an opinion or whatever.
Like us two idiots.
Yeah, pretty much. Get to rip on LeBron, and I feel like if he was in the '90s, he might have like one ring or something like that. But I feel like he gets like imagine Barkley showing up hungover in the NBA playoffs, or Ewing missing that layup against the Pacers. Imagine these '90s guys that didn't win against Jordan on social media nowadays. Like, and Jordan, him ducking out to Atlantic City during the Knicks series in '93, his father getting killed, whether it was from gambling or not. Jordan, he was loved during the time and got criticized at the time, but I feel like with the seedy stuff to Jordan's life, if that was played out in the social media age, things would be a lot different for MJ. And I feel like LeBron is genuinely a pretty good guy. But
but would that play? Do you think he has that? He would have been able to adjust his game because. I mean, obviously, the dude's a phenomenal basketball player, and he'd be great, no matter what area he played. But I think he'd have a really hard time playing in the NBA, like in those days. Everybody, like you said, everybody was a badass, and so much more was allowed. And the way he just kind of plays it off, and
you adapt to the.
That's what I'm saying. I think he would. But
you adapt to the style of play that you're playing in. Like, yes, he's Yes, he flops a lot, but he's not the only one who flops. I do not like LeBron, but he's not the only one who flops. He has a body that would hold up well. Like, I don't think his body would hold up well in '90s NBA.
No, yeah.
I also think that he could get loose. I still think he could put up 23 to 25 points a game in his prime, which is right now in the NBA. Does he win MVP or anything like that? No, probably not, because there's physical there's physical guards out there that would, push him around under those rules. So I think players adapt, and players have adapted to where you can't get contacted, where you can't, where it is kind of encouraged to, flop, to throw your head back on a charge. And keep in mind, when players were taking charges in the '90s, that was one of the strategies, is when you get hit, throw your head back to sell the charge. So it wasn't, like these tough guys that were taking charges were still throwing their head back to, to sell it. There's always been a selling of a call. There's always been that crap. So all these jerk-offs out there can S my D.
How about it? Now you neuter it. Last thing, Bob, before we move on to our buddy Cody here.
Yes.
when it all comes down to it, dude, I mean, obviously the Cavaliers got spanked this evening, but I mean, it seemed like they've been playing their best basketball with Kyrie being healthy, Kevin Love being healthy, and just them bulldozing through the through the postseason. Do you think maybe the time off kind of maybe shaking some of the rust off tonight, or I mean, how big of a series do you see this becoming, and how many games, dude?
I kind of think the Warriors close this out in 5. I don't see them closing it out. Yeah. With the way the NBA playoffs have gone so far.
Oh, yeah. It's all been pretty quick.
It's been quick. And, David Stern, whether you want to call it conspiracies or not, always during the David Stern era, series magically got interesting. Whether it be from a suspension or, suspensions, technicals, whatever it may be. There's none of, yes, Draymond Green has a flagrant foul issue right now. If he gets one more, he's suspended. Gets 2 more technical fouls, he's suspended. But, a couple years, in the last few years, technical fouls have been a problem going into the conference finals. And going into the finals for both teams, like whether it be, an Andrew Bynum or a, Kendrick Perkins, there's always been those issues, and there's one specific issue with Draymond Green, but and there's also been there was a 7-game series between the Warriors and the Thunder, but I just don't see the way the officiating's going. I don't see the NBA. The fix is no longer in, it looks like, and not the fix for a team to win, but for a series to get interesting. So it's not as made for TV anymore, where there's as much drama. And I will say, with the Cavs tonight, I felt like early in the first half they were getting screwed on some foul calls in the paint, whether it been LeBron or Kyrie or Tristan Thompson. I felt like the foul calls the numbers might have gotten evened out towards the end, but early in the first half, it felt like the whistle wasn't getting blown as much on the Cavs side of things. So that being, I don't think that's going to last, but with how poorly Clay and Curry shot for most of this game, that's not going to last for the next 5 games. So I'm going to say Cavs win 1, series is over in 5.
Cool. Yeah, well, speaking of not lasting all that long, Cody VanCura, the Emo Prince of the Midwest of Celebratory Forties. How are you, Mr. Cody, man? What are you up to, buddy?
Hey guys, I'm in Bloomington right now. Just someone's got me to fight with Tucker has, but that's besides the point.
Who'd you get in a fight with now?
So, weekly listeners, they know I've been seeing someone new. I'm at her house right now, and I drank 6 of this guy's beers, and he made a fuss about it, so I bought a 30 rack, and I'm like, we're cool, man. Like, I'm sorry I drank your beers, I bought a 30 rack. And he is still being a little fucking asshole about it. And he's like, I feel disrespected, you drank my beer. I'm like, listen, dude, I bought you a 30 rack. I drank 6 of your goddamn beers. What else do you want from me? So after this, man, bro. I'm going to go back in there after I'm off the phone with you. I'm going to knock this guy out.
You should just keep us on the phone for all that. That makes for some interesting radio. Dude.
Oh, because then that would give the guy a witness.
Yeah. Well, I think he already kind of admitted to the crime, anyways. But I mean,
who gets set upset about 6 beers? I don't get it.
You said 6 beers? That's I'm sorry, Cody. I kind of side with this guy on this one.
No. And here's the thing, okay? Like, you can always stop out, grab some more. You know what I mean? You grab the more beer, which is totally cool. With you doing that. But I mean, you got to be a good host. Whether it's your friends or not. You know what I mean? He's got a chapped ass about something else, and he's projecting here through the beer. You know what I mean? He's just got a problem with you being there, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because anyways, man, anytime anybody comes by, I'll let you drink my last beer. I'm gonna take care of my people when they come by.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Let's talk about some music, guys.
That's right, dude. And we're gonna start off with one of the bands. It's maybe a little bit too late to kind of announce it now, but I've been sharing it up. Our guy Cal Back, he was playing with Double Feature over at the Music Garage and the Bottom Lounge. They're doing a local showcase with 4 bands there, so that's a pretty badass show. Looking at some Cabronas on here, Fox and the Acres, and Periodia. They're on the list too. So I mean, 21 and up show, great time, $5, totally worth it to head out to one of those shows. But there's a bunch of other fests coming up this weekend with a lot of celebratory 40 connections here. I know Dumbfest. That's something you were telling me about. Who's going to be at Dumbfest?
That's next week.
Yeah, that's your girl. That's next week. And let's see what day. I know it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, 6:10 through 6:12. Tell us a little bit about that, buddy.
It's a local festival in Springfield. There's a really cool venue there called Black Sheep Cafe. Runner-ups have played there a lot. We've had them on our show. Up and Adam have played there a lot. And No Bunny's headlining. He's one of my favorite bands. And it's only $5 for every show. So if you're around Springfield, Bloomington, Peoria, I would definitely check it out. There's a really good variety of hardcore, punk, garage, emo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Saturday. Oh no, this is June 10th. Okay. It's at a secret location. Their after show. That's the one that's $5. And then June 10th as well. There's gonna be 8 bands total at Black Sheep. That starts at 6 p.m. $10. And who are some of the bands that you're gonna be looking to see at that one at least?
Absolutely. Take My Bike, Please, because I'm kissing on the bass player.
Bass player, huh?
Yeah, slapping the bass. And slapping me in the face.
See, I know Keith's very proud of you because, Keith, that means that he's moved on here, my friend. He is beyond the heartbreaker. He became a Terminator. We've all been rooting for you, Cody.
Thanks, guys. I wouldn't have been able to pull out without Keith's speech. It really meant a lot to me. I actually recorded it onto cassette, and I listen to it every day when I'm driving to work.
See? How does that make you feel, Keith?
Oh, I'm over the...
Yeah, he's over the moon, Cody. His microphone is being a jerk this evening, unfortunately. But so there's another fest going on too, man. The Midwest PUNKFEST 8. That's a $10 show on Friday, $15 Saturday, $20 for the Friday Saturday combo. But that thing's pretty loaded up, man. American Discord's going to be there. Also, the Runaround, Haddonfields, Flamingo Nosebleed.
Broke Mass Intruder.
Yeah.
But most importantly, 2 of our dudes, and Up and Adam and City Mouth, who we both had on the show.
Oh, for sure, man. And City Mouth, I really like them. I like Up and Adam. They got a badass sound to them. But I know City Mouth, they just put out some new music, too. You know what I mean? Matt Alpa was in there, and Dan Brent's. I mean, so some pretty cool dudes. So, and they got trumpets, keyboards, guitars, drums. Tell us a little bit more about Midwest PUNKFEST 8 and why we got to be at that thing.
Again, it's another good variety of a lot of the local bands here in Springfield, but they also have a lot of big bands like Mass Intruder and Broke Down. So this is probably the biggest year yet for the fest, and I think after this it's going to keep growing. Yeah,
for sure, man. You know, that's something you can find on Facebook. Just go ahead to Facebook, and we also got connected to a bunch of our stuff. But let me ask you, Cody, looking at some of the new albums that so far have come out in 2016, we got a few more minutes for us. Buddy boy, where are you ranking here? Because Beyonce, Radiohead, Big Kanye West, Rihanna, also David Bowie put out a new album, even Iggy Pop. I love Iggy Pop's new album. Tell me, what were some of the albums that you enjoyed to this point?
We've talked about it a little bit on past shows. The Radiohead album really threw me for a loop because you all know that I'm not a huge fan, and
right.
It was incredible to hear such a, I would say, mellow album coming out from there. Like, the drums aren't heavy, the bass isn't heavy, it's just Tom York. And I never thought Tom York and Johnny Greenwood, I never thought I would like the Radiohead album. And so they really surprised me.
Well, that's good. What about the Deftones? Were you into that one, or
not too into the Deftones, my dude?
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. But I mean, Explosions in the Sky, they put out a new album. What was like your favorite so far? I mean, anything that stands out to you the most?
Man, I'm gonna have to be honest with you and say I really liked Life of Pablo. It was a change of pace from what Kanye was doing, and I respect the whole title thing. Sorry about that. No, I respect what Kanye is doing with the title. I think it's a really new, viable option for a lot of bands to get their music out.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're only gonna take another second of your time here, Cody. What about your guy there, Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones, 69 years old and just had some twins?
Good for him, man. He's still plugging away, whatever he's doing. I hope when I'm his age, I could be as lucky as him.
And don't let me ruin your childhood here, but did you ever read the Frog and Toad books?
I didn't. I was a Wind in the Willows fan.
Oh, well, that bums me out. I thought that would have been something you were into.
Sorry, buddy. Can't really give you too much information about that one.
Bob, Keith, anybody going to back me up on the Frog and Toad books? Nobody read those as a kid?
No, you're on.
Is that a no for you too, Bob?
Yeah, I don't read.
All right, well, then screw all you guys.
I don't believe in reading. It's a communist activity.
Yes. Well,
Frog and Toad was a bunch of communist propaganda.
It was actually about amphibious same-sex love, apparently.
It was about friendship. The underlying concept of it was friendship.
Exactly.
That's pretty communist to me. Commies.
Yeah, damn commies. Cody,
all right.
commie.
You guys all have a real good night. I'll talk to you again next week.
Yeah, you too. Don't punch anybody in the face.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. We love you, Cody.
You sound too confident that he's not going to do that.
No. He sounded distracted. He was ready to beat some ass. He was pissed off about this. I wouldn't be that mad about it.
You know, Cody's kind of like Adam Sandler in with the leather jacket and Wedding Singer. I feel like he would get jacked. Hey, Cody, you could write a song about this. I got punched in the nose for sticking my face in other people's business. And then an old guy can tell Cody that sounds like a love song or a country song. Yes. Okay.
Things to apologize for, Bob. We're just about up. We're up against the clock here. Are you going to apologize for calling Terry Collins a crybaby? You going to apologize for saying David Stern was fixing the NBA finals? What do you got?
I wasn't. I was accusing, but
you said just to accuse to make it interesting.
He did make it interesting, though. I appreciate him for that. Like, there was a number of Game 7s that. A number of series that probably shouldn't have gone 7. That went 7. He brought drama into the NBA, whether it was fixed or not. Gambling, the zigzag theory was alive and well during his tenure as NBA commissioner. I'm pretty. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to apologize for, but.
Well, that's good. It was a good show, though.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, well, we can find Bob every Sunday. He's going to be on Late Night Sports Radio, and then Mondays, it's the Keith Greaves Show. That whole thing happens, so be sure to check that out. You can check us out every Thursday right here. You can also find our Facebook page. Like that thing, do it there. And also, we got to thank our guest, Mike Vaccaro. You can check him out at Mike Vac on Twitter, also New York Post. Danny Thompson couldn't make it on tonight, but still check out Full Court Press Radio. Fantastic stuff. Great guy. We'll bring him on next week. And also Cody VanCura at Celebratory Forties. Check that out. But thank you very much for listening, calling, texting, all that great stuff. Download us on iTunes. And everybody that made this thing happen. We appreciate you. Thank you very much, and be good.